heavy card with boxes can also benefit from that as well. And so I want to take that concept of designing physical spaces, for different types of abilities to the idea of designing for every mind, right? So if we are able to design more inclusively, means we design for every kind or variety of different cognitive needs. And so to try to underscore sort of the level of the impact, right? So about 2 years ago, the National Cancer Institute estimated that, roughly 15 to 20% of people across the world exhibit some form of neurodivergence. So I can sometimes have difficulty translating them to something I can understand. And so if you think about the population of the United States is about 300 or so million people. If you multiply that by 5, right, it's about 1.5 billion. If every single one of those people here in this country was neurodivergent, that would be 15 to 20% of the world's population. So it's a lot of people, right? So there's an opportunity to design better for a large number of people. And so after this session, here's what we hope you learn today. So describing the POUR principles, that's going to be the focus of Dr. Morgan's part of the presentation. Highlighting common challenges faced by neurodivergent learners when courses are not proactively designed to be inclusive. And then last but not least, list examples of how the POUR principles can be applied in Canvas to improve accessibility for neurodivergent learners. So let me start with the impact of language. So as I was preparing for this, I was trying to find, easy to understand definition or set of definitions, and I ran across this book that kept getting cited over and over again. It's called the Neuroqueer Heresies by Dr. Nick Walker. Her definitions, her words were continuously used in different research articles I found. And two things really that I want to point out here. The first one is she heavily underscores neurodiversity is not a trait that an individual can possess, right? Neurodiversity, we can think about it as the infinite number of ways that human minds can function. Now, when we are talking about neurodivergence or being neurodivergent, that's when your mind diverges from what societal standards typically consider as quote unquote normal. And I'm using very heavy air quotes here because obviously I don't believe in that definition of normal. But I think it's important, right? And I know in the past it's been challenging for me to know which are the right terms and to avoid using them incorrectly. So I wanted to ground us with that first. Again, neurodiversity is not a trait an individual can possess. That would be neurodivergence. When the act of having neurodivergence makes you a neurodivergent individual. And I'm no expert by any means. This is just based on my reading. So feel free to tell me if I'm using any of these incorrectly. I would appreciate that. So let me pivot a little bit into challenges faced by neurodivergent learners. So neurodivergent learners, such as those with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, they may not be able to stay focused if course materials are primarily heavy walls of text, right? I think we've all run into that in a variety of Canvas courses. It can be difficult for us, non-neurodivergent folks to consume that. Imagine what that experience is like for someone with something like dyslexia. Assignments that are limited to one modality, having a standardized or inflexible format, it really limits the ability for neurodivergent learners to express themselves freely or to perform well. Additionally, if we don't have a consistent structure in a course or a consistent design for the content, it can be challenging to process constant changes, right? So if you think about a module that's structured with an introduction, followed by readings, followed by assignments, and then we use a completely different structure for every other module afterwards, right? That's going to make it challenging for a neurodivergent learner to be able to keep, sort of an organized set of tasks that they need to complete. And then lastly, another example of a challenge is designing your course or the content in your course in a way that is going to make it incompatible with certain devices. This can be extremely challenging because neurodivergent learners may need to use specific tools or applications to support their learning. It's possible that those tools are only going to work on specific devices. And so if the course content that we design and create isn't compatible with that device, then that becomes a challenge that that learner has to overcome. So we now introduced a barrier. So let me then now pivot to universal design for learning. We're not going to focus completely on this, but I did think it was important to note it and make a connection to the POUR principles. So you may have already heard about universal design for learning, or UDL. It's slowly becoming more and more prevalent and common in the teaching and learning ecosystem. And I like to give simple definitions. So to put it simply, UDL is a framework that helps maximize learning and minimize barriers, right? So try to think of the idea, there's been a lot of emphasis lately on this new ruling from the Department of Justice and content needing now to be aligned with WCAG 2.1 standards. And so that is more of a reactive approach, right? We're going into remediation because we've created content that's not accessible and it's not inclusive. So rather than take that kind of approach, what UDL can support is a proactive approach, right? Rather than have to deal with remediation once the student notices an error, or we sort of run to an audit or something like that, taking a proactive approach is a more inclusive way of designing. So 3 principles of UDL. The first one is representation, or the what of learning. So this is related to understanding and processing content. So to give you an example, if you were to provide multiple ways for learners, to perceive information, maybe as in video format, maybe in written format, that would be an example. The second principle is action and expression, or the how of learning. So that relates to learners demonstrating what they know. So if you give students or learners the ability to demonstrate their creativity in multiple ways, that would be a way of aligning to that principle. And then last but not least, engagement principle, or the why of learning. So this is related to providing learners with multiple ways to interact with and participate in the learning experience. So think of this as incorporating examples in the course content that are relevant to the learner's interests or backgrounds, right? This is now becoming more noticeable, more embedded with culturally responsive pedagogy. But yeah, again, the idea that you incorporate things that are relevant to learners, that's an example of the why of learning. And I believe my last part here is going to be making the connection between UDL and the POUR principles. And so we're about to pivot into the real meat of the session that Dr. Morgan's going to be able to talk about. And the reality is that UDL and POUR can work together to remove barriers and provide all learners with the same opportunities. So think of UDL as helping ensure that the learning experience is designed to accommodate diverse learning needs. So it's sound from a pedagogical perspective. And then the POUR principles can ensure that the tools and the content used are accessible for all learners. So think about that as accessibility from a tech perspective. So now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Morgan so that she can take on the rest. And I just gave you control, Dr. Morgan. Let me know if that didn't work. But you are muted. There you go.
Yep. Okay, so 4 essential principles that ensure learning content is truly accessible for all learners are known by the acronym POUR. First, content must be perceivable. This means that every learner must be able to process the information through at least one of their senses. Second, we have operable, which focuses on the interface. So every learner must be able to interact with and navigate the content effectively. Third, both the content and the interface must be understandable. This goes beyond simple accessibility. Learners need to understand just what they're learning, but how to navigate and interact with the learning environment. Finally, content must be robust as technology evolves. This means designing content that maintains its accessibility regardless of how learners access it, ensuring compatibility with current and future assistive technologies. So let's begin by exploring the first principle, perceivable. For neurodiverse learners, breaking down content into manageable chunks and incorporating visual aids can make a significant difference. High quality captions and transcripts are essential for media content, benefiting not only learners who are hard of hearing, but also those who comprehend better through reading or need to revisit material later for understanding. Clear navigation and structured headings are also important as they provide predictable layouts that help learners find information quickly without cognitive overload. Additionally, screen sharing is highly effective for explaining complex concepts as it creates a shared visual reference. Lastly, offering multiple communication channels, both visual and textual, provides learners with the flexible engagement options that suit their individual needs. So in Canvas, we can bring these perceivable strategies to life through several practical tools. First, accurate captions and transcripts for video and audio content are accessible. So Canvas integrates with the Ally tool, as well as tools like Media Plus and YouTube, ensuring captions and transcripts can meet accessibility standards, supporting neurodiverse learners who benefit from reviewing material in text format. Canvas also allows us to include visual aids and diagrams, images, and videos to supplement text, which is especially helpful for learners who struggle with those dense sections of text. Organizing content into digestible sections is important. Breaking down information into smaller, manageable parts can help the learner focus on one concept at a time without feeling overwhelmed. Lastly, clear headings and structured navigation make it easy for learners to understand the course layout and navigate content confidently. So these structured elements reduce cognitive load and help improve focus. To make learning environments operable for all learners, it's essential to consider both accessibility and flexibility in course design. Research highlights the value of proactive technical support as the foundation, so ensuring learners have guidance whenever they encounter issues. Adjustable video settings are another key feature, allowing learners to control playback speeds and reduce cognitive load there. And clear support protocols also contribute to the experience, providing a quick resolution of technical challenges. Straightforward interfaces with tutorials empower learners by giving them confidence to navigate independently. Allowing students to control the pacing of their own content and offering flexible assessment timelines further supports cognitive needs. In Canvas, we implement the operable strategies through specific tools and features tailored to enhance accessibility and control. Flexible assessment timelines help learners manage their time effectively and reduce anxiety around deadlines. For instance, making due dates visible without restricting access to resources allows learners to continue working at their own pace. To clarify the learning path, instructors can add text to Canvas pages to highlight key steps, while built-in like previous and next buttons provide clear navigation options. So these straightforward structural elements empower learners to give them control over their navigation and support their confidence. To support learning diverse needs for comprehension, it's important to establish clear and flexible content strategies. Visual communication tools like screen sharing help create shared understanding by guiding learners through complex concepts. Flexible communication options like asynchronous discussions or alternative contact methods using tools like Slack address varied processing needs, enabling learners to engage at their own pace. And most importantly, consistency in instructional structure is beneficial for all learners as it allows learners to navigate the course with ease. Explicit learning pathways make it clear how different parts of a course connect, and multimodal delivery accommodates different learning preferences by providing content both visually and auditorily. Finally, dedicated support channels ensure that learners can get assistance when they need it, completing the framework for creating an understandable learning experience. In Canvas, we can implement understandable strategies. First, you can use screen sharing and collaborative annotation tools for complex readings to allow learners to actively engage. You can follow along, they can add notes, making learning more interactive and meaningful. Multimodal delivery options in Canvas, such as providing both audio and text options of key content, enable learners to choose the format that suits their individual needs. And flexibility benefits neurodivergent learners, enabling them to tailor their experiences and improve their content retention. And then to ensure accessibility and adaptability of our learning environments, it's important to adopt robust design strategies. One of the key strategies is implementing adaptive technology solutions that evolve to meet diverse learner needs. Research also highlights the importance of establishing a support network and backup plans. So if any issues arise, learners can still support and access their critical resources. Customizable features further extend the longevity of our tools, allowing us to adjust settings and formats as learner needs change. Finally, providing cross-platform compatibility across various devices and ensuring inclusive interface design helps create sustainable, accessible learning. In Canvas, we can apply robustness principles in practical ways. For comprehension support networks such as institutional help desk, instructional designers, and Canvas community forums offer essential resources to learners and instructors. Adaptive technology solutions in Canvas, like auto conversion between the file formats and customizable quiz settings, provide flexibility to ensure content is acceptable in multiple formats. Canvas also supports cross-platform compatibility, allowing learners to access content from computers, tablets, or mobile devices, with options for offline access, such as publishing with EPUB for those with limited internet access. Additionally, future-ready features like external tool integrations and beta options enable us to experiment with new capabilities while maintaining accessibility. So by combining the Canvas features with the robust training for faculty and our support staff, we can effectively sustain accessible, adaptable course environments over the time. So in conclusion, designing with neurodivergent learners in mind enhances the experience for all of our learners. Embrace the 4 principles in course design to remove barriers, leverage universal design for learning to proactively accommodate diverse learning needs by engaging learners, offering multiple means of expression, action, expression, and representation. Take action by using POUR and UDL together to audit and enhance your Canvas courses. Additionally, keep evolving your designs to sustain accessibility technologies to meet learners' diverse evolving needs. And thank you for your dedication and support to creating an inclusive learning environment.
Thank you, Angel and Javier, for your presentation. I don't see any questions in the queue. Are there any questions in the room? There is. One moment. Let me walk over with the microphone.
Hi, thanks. So our question is about wording in the syllabus, and some of our courses still have the wording that says a telephone or a tablet will not be sufficient to complete the work in this course. It was just part of the template. Should we be taking that off now? I mean, it sounds like if we're really practicing all these accessibility approaches, then that needs to jump off the page too, right? That needs to disappear. Thank you.
Well, I would say that the content of your syllabus obviously goes through an approval process, so I would not want to comment on specific aspects, but as far as requirements go. But while you make your content accessible, there are also situations and needs for specific tools within the course that you may need, which may not be compatible with a phone or with a tablet. I know we use some authoring tools within our program that cannot be accessed, and we do have technology recommendations. So I guess where I'm going here is the base content or the delivery of information should be completely and holistically accessible online. So the text and the videos, but you're going to have practical application-based pieces to your course, which would not be able to do used on a smaller device like a tablet or a phone, because they may require more processing speed that the smaller devices cannot handle. So, I think the reason why we focused here on Canvas was because that's sort of that main content delivery tool, whereas the applied learning pieces may not always be able to do, completed within a smaller device.
Thank you so much for that response. And it looks like we're at time now. So thank you for presenting on this framework today. We will begin the next session, the online dialogue opportunity, in just a few minutes. Please join us here in the alumni room at the Memorial Union on ASU's Tempe campus, or virtually on Zoom at the same link used for this session. And if you get a chance, please go to the schedule page on the conference website and use the QR code to find our conference survey. We appreciate any feedback on how to make this event better. Thank you, everyone. We'll begin the next session soon.